A very good afternoon and welcome to your favorite tele-education program. This is Home Study and my name is Lirato Mabilisa. Also joining me in the studio is my colleague Nogwazi Dlamini and the sign language interpreter Nomtebo Dlamini. A very good afternoon, Nogwazi, on this very hot Thursday.
A very good afternoon, Lerato. A very good afternoon to our viewers back at home. It's a beautiful but hot Thursday afternoon. We hope that you are ready for your day of learning. What does our day look like?
Right, from 2 p.m. until 2:30 p.m. we have the grade 0 lesson and the topic is caring for animals. From 2:30 p.m. until 3 p.m. we have the grade 3 and 4 lesson, which is presenter, French. From 3 p.m. until 3:30 p.m. we have the grade 5 and 6 social studies lesson, which is climatic regions. From 3:30 p.m. until 4 p.m. we have English literature for the Form 1 learners and the topic is Introduction to Drama. From 4 p.m. until 4:30 p.m. we have the biology lesson for the Form 4 learners and the topic is Levels of Organization. The last subject from 4:30 p.m. until 5 p.m. is mathematics and the topic is graphing trigonometric functions.
Yes, of course, that's what your day looks like today of learning. And just a reminder that we are live right now until 5 p.m. on YouTube and on Facebook. And of course, a reminder about our WhatsApp number that you can use to ask any questions that you might have during the show rolling. After the break is the grade 0 lesson. Lerato will be taking you guys through that. We will be right back after this.
Welcome grade 0s. This is the first subject for today and you are learning with teacher Bruno Masugu, caring for animals. My name is Lirato Mabilisa and also joining me in the studio is the sign language interpreter Nomtebo Dlamini. A very good afternoon, Mr. Bruno. How are you?
I'm fine, and how are you, Lerato?
I'm alright. So today's topic is caring for animals.
Yes.
What would you expect the grade 0 to have learned by the end of this lesson?
Well, by the end of the lesson, I want the grade 0 learners to be able to state the different ways on how we should take care of our domestic animals. Also, I want them to be able to state the color of the week. And lastly, I want them to be able to state the shade of the week.
Okay, without wasting any time, please begin your lesson.
Thank you very much. Hi viewers at home, my name is teacher Bruno Masugu again and I'll be taking you for today's lesson. Now if you look closely, we are going to begin with the months of the year. Now let's read them together. January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. Very good. Did you spot your month which you were born in? Did you? Because I did. My month is the month of April. Now, do you know which month we are in? I heard some of you saying May, September. No. What month are we in, by the way? October. Very good. A lot of you shouted October. This month is October. Now, let's move over to today's weather, by the way. Now, today's weather is hot. By the way, today's weather is hot. Where you are, what weather is it like today? Is it hot like today here in Babane? Because in Babane it's hot. Now, where you are, it might be different. It might be partly cloudy or it might be cold. But here in Babane, remember, it is hot. Now let's move over to the letter of the week. Do you still remember the letter of the week? What letter of the week, by the way, did you learn about on Monday with teacher Tracy? Very good. I heard some of you shouting, I. You all learned about the letter I. But before we get there, I want us to learn about the letter of the alphabets. Now, let's read the letter of the alphabets all together. A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P, Q, R, S, T, U, V, W, X, Y, and Z. Now, I want us to continue learning about the letter of the week. Can you spot what's in there? I can hear a lot of you shouting, island. Very good. The letter of the week is the island. Now, can you tell me anything that starts with the letter I? Can you? Very good. Now, ice cream starts with the letter I. And ice cream starts with the letter I. Do you love ice cream? Because I do. And by the way, when do we take ice cream? When it's cold? No. We take them when it's hot. I love ice cream. Now, what else begins with the letter I, boys and girls? An iceberg. What's this? An iceberg. Now, if you look carefully there is an iceberg, and that's water over it. It's found in an ocean. It's a huge iceberg. Now, let's look at this one. What's this, by the way? What's this again? Very good. I heard a lot of you shouting ice cubes, and these are ice cubes. And they are found at home. Usually you guys steal them when it's hot at home, so you shouldn't steal them. These are ice cubes. Now let's move over and talk about the shape of the week. Can you remind me what you learned on Monday about the shape of the week? I can hear a lot of you saying circle. Did we learn about the circle? No, we learned about the rectangle. Now, can you help me and tell me what is this, boys and girls? This is a door, and a door is shaped like a rectangle. It's shaped like a rectangle. Very good. I can see you all guys are smart at home, Now, let's learn about other other objects shaped like rectangles. Now, if you look at this, what is this? Very good. It's a microwave. And where is it found? In the kitchen. Very good, boys and girls. And it's shaped like a what? Rectangle. Very good. It's shaped like a rectangle. And I have here, what do I have here? Very, very nice. Do you guys love what I have here? Because I know a lot of you love sweet things. What it is, by the way? This is a chocolate. And what shape is it? It's shaped like a rectangle. Very good. Very good. Because you're smart, I'll be dishing out them to you guys later on. Very good. Now, we're going to talk about the number of the week. Can you remind the teacher what the number of the week? What did we learn about on Monday? We learned about the number 7. Very good. We learned about the number 7. Now, I want you to tell me what we have there on the number 7. What are those objects, boys and girls? Very good. Those are umbrellas. Now help the teacher by counting how many umbrellas we have there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's count again, boys and girls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now I have here counters. We call them counters. We call them again. What do we call them again? Counters. And when do we use counters? When we're counting. Now what you are going to do, you are going to help me by counting while I place them here. Now let's count together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Very good, boys and girls. 7. How many counters do we have here? 7. Now let's count them again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Now what I want you guys to do for me is to stand up, boys and girls, stand up. Now help the teacher by using your fingers and count up to the number 7. Let's count, boys and girls. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Let's count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Lovely, boys and girls. Lovely, boys and girls. Now, I want you to help me by talking about the color of the week. We will be talking about the color of the week. Can you remind the teacher what color of the week you learned about on Monday? Shout it out loud. I can hear some of you talking about brown. Brown, very good. On Monday, I remember you learned about the color brown. Now, look at what the teacher has here. What is this, by the way? Very good. We call it a kite. And what color is it? It's brown. Very good. It is brown. Boys and girls, now let's look at this one. What does the teacher have on her hand? We call it a piece of cake. And I know you love it. Now, what color is the piece of cake, boys and girls? Brown. It's brown. Now, I know you guys love a lot of this. Now, look at what the teacher has here. What does the teacher has? Very good, boys and girls. These are shoes. These are shoes. What color are they? Help the teacher and shout it out loud. Brown. The shoes are brown. Say the word out loud. Brown. Very good, boys and girls. Thank you for helping me on this one. Now, what else do I have here? Very good. What do we call this, by the way? We call them horses. And what color are they? Very good. Brown. The horses are brown. Shout the word out loud. Brown. Very, very good. Now, boys and girls, I want us to look at this one too, because we always do use this one when we're at school. What is this, by the way? Very good. We call it a pencil color. We call it a pencil color. And what color is it, by the way? What color is it? Brown. The pencil color is brown. The pencil color is brown. Look at what I have here again. What is this, by the way? It's a chocolate. Remember, we talked about the chocolate earlier on, but now I want you to help me. What color is the chocolate? Very good. It's brown. The chocolate is brown, boys and girls. Now I want us to move over to today's theme, boys and girls. I want us to move over to today's theme, and I want you to remind the teacher on what you talk about on Monday with Teacher Trace. Talked about domestic animals. Very good. You guys talked about domestic animals. You are very clever, you boys at home and girls. Now, today we are going to be talking about caring for domestic animals. It's very important that we care for our domestic animals at home. How do we care for our domestic animals at home? There are different ways. But number one, which is very, very important, you must provide them with food. It's very important that you provide them with food or you feed them. Now, boys and girls, whenever you provide them with food, make sure the bowl is clean. Don't provide them with food when it is dead, because they are going to get sick, boys and girls. Now, look at this one. What is this? Chickens, boys and girls. These are chickens. Hey, I heard a lot of you shouting. Chickens. These are chickens. We also provide them with what? Food. Now, let's look at this next one. We must be able to let them out and go and graze. Which animals go out and graze, by the way? Cows. Very good. Cows and goats, they go out and graze. But Boys and girls, you know what? If there's no grass, what happens? They usually get thin. So what do? We provide them with hay. We provide them with what? Hay, so that they don't get hungry, boys and girls. Very good. Now we're going to get to number 2. Now, number 2, boys and girls, you must be able to provide your domestic animals with what? Shelter. You must be able to provide them with what? Shelter. Look at that. What is that, by the way? That's a dog. Very good. What sound does a dog make, by the way? Very good. Woof. Woof. Very good. Now, boys and girls, it's very important that you provide them with what? Shelter. Now, let's look at the next one. What do we have here? Horses. Very good. You are smart. Now, horses also need what? Shelter. You must provide them with what? Shelter. Now, boys and girls, let's get into the third one. Now, also, it's very important that you take your animals to the animal doctor whenever they are sick. You take them to the what? Animal doctor. Let us look at this picture. What can you see here? My dog is wearing what? A jersey, meaning it's cold, it's feeling cold. And what does it have on the mouth? A thermometer. So when our domestic animals are sick, we take them to the what? Animal doctor. Very good, boys and girls. Now, let us look at this one. What do we have here again? It's a dog. If you watch closely, the dog there has what? A bandage. What do you think might have happened to the dog? It might have broke its leg. It's very, very important that you notice your domestic animals. If they are not feeling well, take them to the animal doctor. Very, very, very good. Now, let us look at this one too. Can you tell me what can you see? You can see an animal. Very good. What's happening there? What do you think is happening there? Very good, boys and girls. The animal is being attended to by the animal doctors. It's being attended to by the animal doctors. Very, very good, boys and girls. Now, this is what I want us to do. Now, if you look carefully, there are 3 ways on how we should take good care of our domestic animals. Number 1, I said you should provide them with what? Very good. I said you should provide them with food. You should feed them. Now, I also said you should provide them with what, by the way? Shelter. You should always provide them with shelter. What else you should provide them with? Very good. You should take them to the animal doctor when they are sick. You take them to the animal doctor. Now, boys and girls, you must also show your domestic animals love. You show them what? Love. You must show them that you care about them every time. Don't mistreat them, because if you mistreat them, they won't be able to survive. Now, if you see that they are sick, you take them to the animal doctor. Now, if you don't want that particular animal anymore, what do you do, boys and girls? In Babane, there's a place called Eswatini Animal Welfare Society. That's where we take care. That's where they take care of the animals which you don't like anymore. Now, boys and girls, it's very, very important that you take good care of them. Now, let us recap on our lesson, boys and girls. Now, if you look again, we talked about the months of the year, and we also talked about the weather. We mentioned the letter of the week, and we also talked about the shape of the week. We said the shape of the week is a rectangle, and we also talked about the color of the week. We said the color of the week is brown. Very good, boys and girls. Now, boys and girls, that is the end of our lesson for today. Until I see you again, bye.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bruno. This was a very interesting grade 0 lesson. I hope that the grade 0s enjoyed their lesson, and I'm hoping I'm going to see you again for another interesting lesson.
No, thank you for having me. It was a very lovely lesson. Thank you very much, Lerato.
Okay, if you are in grade 3 and grade 4, please get closer to your screen because your French teacher, Mr. Mark Kiomba, will be back after this infomercial.
Catch the brightest talent search in the land on Eswatini TV on Sunday at 6 p.m. The Spotlight. Put me on.
imbi yeqeda i-HIV kanye namalaria fever.
Kubika Sibusiso Ngubane anamba Dube kaqoma indaba kalavumisa
Government of Eswatini TV ngiLinkedIn kule nginambonga Dube Stemba bani.
TV license pay and win competition. Fabulous prizes up for grabs. Don't miss out on the TV license pay and win competition. The competition will run from the 30th of September to 10th November 2020. Prizes include set-top boxes, a TV set, DSTV decoders, cash and IT analysis for a winning business. To enter the competition, buy the Times of Eswatini, cut out the filled-in strip and drop it off at any of the Times offices or upload cut out to https://tblcom.jelele.com. The competition is open to individuals 18 years and older and businesses too. Entrants must be in possession of devices which are capable of communication or transmitting or recording TV signals. The more the entries meet, the higher the chances of winning. Terms and conditions apply.
Buhle bethu imvelo yethu. Buhle bethu tindzawo tethu. Indalo yashada nemasiko kuhle kwethu. Kuvakasha kwethula umthwalo emahlombe ethu. Hloma ngwane vuka uvakashe indlela uyikhombe etindzaweni tethu. Temvelo nembukiso ungcebeleke uthathe netithombe. Lalela ke nangu sonkondlo waseswatini akutekela ayibeka indzaba ayihlela kuhle kwelijaha lishela ngiyakutshela diningi tindzawo longativakashela hloma ngwane vuka uvakashela phana lapha kuvakasha kuyayelapha enhlitiyo kanye nemqondo kuyawuphumuda uqinisa buhlobo nebungane losebendenga ndenga with a trip to Mandenga Falls or a sip among friends of Sibebe Brew on Sibebe Mountain, or perhaps your cup of tea is backpacking and horse riding, sightseeing the seamless streams and springs that stream across the gorgeous valleys of the mountainous kingdoms of Eswatini. We have you covered. Hloma ngwane vuka uvakashe. Buhle bethu yimvelo yethu. Buhle bethu ngabuthola nasebantwini bethu.
Catch the brightest talent search in the land on Eswatini TV on Sunday at 6 p.m. The Spotlight. Put me on.
Sinibusele maswati lamahle kanye nabo bonke bazalwane eveni laseswatini. Igama lami ngingu-Ayandazwane, Health Promotions Officer walo hlelo lolushasha lolubitwa ngekuthi yi-Faith and Community Initiative, kafishane FCI.
Njengoba sisho sobe sikhuluma ngokusebenzisana nebandla, bafundisi nisho njalo namabandla anebantu akhiwa abantu lebafikayo lebangela lamaswati lesikhuluma ngayo. And kuyindlela kuba ngiyona leyo platform lenye lekubonakala ukuthi singayisebenzisa, kwabonakala even then ukuthi singayisebenzisa ukuthi sikhone ukuthi sifike kubo bonke abantu.
Ikakhulu lubuke ukuthi bantu basitakale kwekucala endzabeni yokuthi kwanze umsebenzi wokuvikela igciwane le-HIV la kaNgwane.
But labantu bebati disclose bona, batisho bona sibanjani, baphathekile, bathandazelwe. Labo bantu labo nabativa abangcono bebasithatha hayi ngithiva sengiphilile mina. Asizange ngisho kanye ndakunika nje good example. Sibatshela sabayekela amaphilisi.
Namhla ke ngithe ukuthi ukuthatha indvodza, ngithe ukuthatha babe ukuthi asade isimo sakhe sengadi. Ngicoko ukuthi usade isimo sengadi kuze utokhombisa luthando lonalo emndenini wakho, utokhombisa luthando lonalo nasemphakathini.
Why should we pay our TV license?
The content on our local television is actually more up to date. The industry is enhanced.
It is a criminal offense not to pay your TV license and attracts a fine of 500 emalangeni or 6 months imprisonment.
And the industry is definitely blooming, ladies and gentlemen. So that's what we have for you. But we'll be right back just after the break and we'll give you more of Miss V.
Pay my TV license. That's why I can enjoy the benefits of an enhanced industry and keep track with recent transformation.
Mommy, who pays for a TV license and what are they paying for?
The owners of TV set and a gadget with a tuner like DVD set have to pay.
Pay your TV license at NetBank with the details provided on screen. Or use your cell phone via the mobile money pay. You could also visit your nearest post office and pay there. Pay your TV license via Eswatini Mobile Imali. Any TV device retailer can purchase a license to trade. Pay your TV license and enhance the industry.
Welcome grade 3s and 4s, or rather should I say bonjour. My name is Lerato Mabilisa, and with me in the studio is the French teacher, Teacher Mark Kiomba. A very good afternoon, ma'am. Sorry.
Bonjour.
How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
I'm alright.
Okay.
Sorry for calling you ma'am, by the way. So what is today's topic and what would you expect the grade 3s and 4s to have learned by the end of this lesson?
Okay, today's topic is ma famille. Ma famille. So by the end of today's lesson, they should be able to talk about their family. And they should be able to use expression like il y a. They should be able to use adjectif possessif like mon, ton, ma, me. Yes.
Okay, merci beaucoup. Without wasting any time, please begin your lesson.
Okay. Welcome, my dear Lena, to your French lesson for grade 3 and grade 4. My name is Monsieur Mark Makole Kiomba, and I will be your French teacher today. Our topic today is ma famille. Famille. Okay, but before then, we are going to look at our homework that I gave you last time. Last time I said answer the questions below in full French sentences after the lesson, and those questions were bonjour, comment ça va, comment tu t'appelles, and quel âge as-tu? So your answers are supposed to be bonjour for bonjour. Comment ça va? The answer, ça va bien, merci. Or, ça va bien. Or, you can still say, ça va mal. If you're not feeling well, you can say, ça va mal. And comment tu t'appelles? Je m'appelle. And then you fill your name here. Je m'appelle Mark. You fill your name there if you are Mark. Je m'appelle John. You write your name there. Je m'appelle Mangoba. So you fill your name. Quel âge as-tu? Quel âge as-tu? J'ai, and you write your age. If you are 1, you say j'ai 1 an. If you are 2, j'ai 2 ans. 3, j'ai 3 ans. And that takes us to counting from 0 to 10 as we did last time. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. If you are 10 and then you say j'ai 10 ans. So you fill your age there. J'ai 10 ans. Okay. Now let's move to our lesson today, which is ma famille. By the end of today's lesson, you should be able to talk about your family. You should be able to use expression like il y a, which means there is or they are. You should be able to name each member of the family. You should be able to use the verb s'appeler. You should be able to use mon, ma, mes, ton, ta, and te. And our prerequisite knowledge, in order to better understand this theme, you should know the following. Je m'appelle. Les nombres de 0 à 10, the one that we've just done now. Okay. Our keyword for today. I believe you have your pen, your pencil and eraser, and your exercise book. So our keyword for today, we have maman, or mère, which means mother. We have papa or père, which means father. We have frère, brother. Sœur, sister. Fille, girl. Garçon, boy. And we have mon, ma, mes, which means my. I repeat again, mon, ma, mes. They mean my. And we have ton, ta, te, which means your. I repeat again, that's one. Ton, ta, te, which means your. Okay. Before we start, let me read for you a short text, a short story. And then from that story, I'll try to pick a paragraph that we'll deal with. Listen carefully. Salut. Je m'appelle Nosipo Mota. Je suis une fille et je vous parle de ma famille, la famille Mota. Dans ma famille, il y a 6 personnes. 2 parents et 4 enfants. Mon père s'appelle Monsieur Sanele Mota et ma mère s'appelle Madame Tuli Mota. Les 4 enfants sont 2 filles et 2 garçons. Les 2 filles sont moi et ma sœur, et mes 2 frères s'appellent Joshua Mota et Claudio Mota. Et toi, comment s'appelle ta famille? So from the text, I will talk about the paragraph below, from the text that we've just read now. This is the paragraph. Dans ma famille, il y a 6 personnes, 2 parents et 4 enfants. Mon père s'appelle Monsieur Sanele Mota et ma mère s'appelle Madame Tuli Mota. So I will talk about dans, I will talk about ma, I will talk about il y a, I will talk about parents, enfants, mon père, ma mère. I'll talk about what I've underlined there. So, dans means in. Dans. Can you repeat after me? Say dans. Good. Exemple, dans la famille. Dans la famille. Dans la famille means in the family. Let's move to ma. Can you say ma? Très bien. So ma means my. Ma famille. You mean my family. Ma famille. My family. And the third one, we have il y a. I want you to repeat after me. Il y a. Let's go. Again. Il y a. Yes. Il y a means there is or they are. Il y a means there is or they are. So, exemple. Dans ma famille, il y a 6 personnes. Dans ma famille, il y a 6 personnes. What does it mean after you've learned that? What does it mean? Dans ma famille, il y a 6 personnes. I want you to tell me the answer. What does it mean? Dans ma famille, il y a 6 personnes. Ah, ok, très bien. Good. So, dans ma famille, il y a 6 personnes. 6 personnes means in my family, there are 6 people. In my family, there are 6 people. Dans ma famille, il y a 6 personnes. Très bien. Ok, we move to parents. Parents. Parents means parents. Parents. Exemple, 2 parents. In the text found somewhere it's written 2 parents, as we did the numbers last time. So this means 2 parents means 2 parents. We move to enfant. Can you repeat after me? Say enfant. Enfant. Très bien. Enfant. Enfant with an S there, it means children. But if I say un enfant down there, un enfant means a child. Exemple, 2 parents et 4 enfants. 2 parents et 4 enfants. What does it mean? Yeah, 2 parents et 4 enfants mean 2 parents and 4 children. Très bien. On y va. 2 parents et 4 enfants, 2 parents and 4 children. Okay, we have mon père, ma mère. Here, I will focus on mon and ma. Mon and ma, they mean my. And down there I wrote mon, ma, me. They mean my. So mon, you use it in front of a male. For instance, mon père. You mean mon père here. You mean my father. If you want to talk about your mother, you use ma. So ma mère here, ma mère means my mother. And we have me, which means my, but plural. They can be used maybe 2, 3, or 4. Like mes parents down here. You can see mes parents. So my parents. Me is plural of ma and mon. mon père, ma mère, mes parents. Très bien, on continue. Now, before we proceed, let me read the text once more. Listen carefully. I want to read the text once more, so listen carefully. Salut, je m'appelle Nozipomota. Je suis une fille et je vous parle de ma famille. La famille Mota. Dans ma famille, il y a 6 personnes. 2 parents et 4 enfants. Mon père s'appelle Monsieur Sanele Mota et ma mère s'appelle Madame Tuli Mota. Les 4 enfants sont 2 filles et 2 garçons. Les 2 filles sont moi et ma sœur. Et mes 2 frères s'appellent Joshua Mota et Claudio Mota. Et toi, comment s'appelle ta famille? So after reading that, I'll pick another paragraph from that text. I'll pick the following paragraph. Les 4 enfants sont 2 filles et 2 garçons. Les 2 filles sont moi et ma sœur. Et mes 2 frères s'appellent Joshua Mota et Claudio Mota. So from this paragraph, I will talk about fille, garçon, moi, sœur, ma sœur, and frère. Donc mes frères. Ok, on continue. So, une fille, it's a girl. Exemple, je suis une fille. Je suis une fille. I am a girl. And un garçon et boy. Exemple, Sbahle est un garçon. Sbahle est un garçon. Sbahle is a boy. You can say je suis un garçon, which means I am a boy. Okay, we have moi, which means me. Moi is me. Sœur, sister. And frère means brother. So, from what I said on, you can say ma sœur. So use ma, which means my sister. And you say mon, which means my. Mon frère, which means my brother. On continue. Okay, comment s'appelle ta famille? That's the last part of the text. Comment s'appelle ta famille? I will focus on ta, which will bring about other adjectives. Okay, let's look at this. Before I talk about ta here, which will bring about ton and te, I'll try to go back again on what I said. I talked about mon. I talked about ton, and I talked about I talked about mon, ma, and me. So I talked about mon, ma, and me, where I said they mean my. Now I'm talking about ton, ta, and te. So here you can see it's t, 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 but this side is m, m, m. So ton, ta, et te means your. Exemple, ton frère, your brother. Ta sœur, your sister. Tes sœurs, your sisters. Tes, plural. Tes sœurs, your sisters. Ok. Exemple. Comment s'appelle ton frère? Comment s'appelle ton frère? Which means, what is your your brother's name? What is your brother's name? So, when you are answering, in the question there was ton, so your answer should start with mon. So, let's go up here. Ton, your answer must start with mon. If in the question there is ta, your answer must start with ma. If there is te, so your answer must start with me. Exemple here. Comment s'appelle ton frère? Mon frère s'appelle Joshua. Comment s'appelle ta sœur? So, ma sœur s'appelle Vanessa. I can even add say comment s'appelle tes parents. There I put tes because now I'm talking about me. Comment s'appellent tes parents? So I can say mes parents s'appellent Sanelemota et Nosipomota. On continue. Now we're going to do this exercise. Consider this family as your family and talk about the family. Let's start with this family. And basically, I want you to use mon, ton, ta, mes, all those. I want you to use them in this exercise. I will do the first one for you and you do the rest. Okay. In this family, dans ma famille, il y a, dans ma famille, il y a mon père. So I use mon because they mean mon père, ma mère, and this one is the girl, et ma sœur. Ma sœur. So mon père, ma mère et ma sœur. My sister, my mother, my father. Ok, alors, on continue. Let's talk about the following family, cette famille. Now, this time it's you. Dans ma famille, il y a. Good. You said this one, mon père. Très bien, mon père. Let's go to this one. Très bien. Ma mère. And these two. Et good. Mes frères. Mes frères. So, très bien. Mes frères, because there are two. So, we use mes. Et mes frères. Let's continue. Two more exercises. Yes, let's talk about these ones. Here, we're talking about this one. So, we can see there's a mother and 3 kids. 3 girls. Dans ma famille, il y a ma mère et mes 3 sœurs. Good. Mes 3 sœurs. Très bien. Mes 3 sœurs. My 3 sisters. Now, let's talk about this. The last one. Dans ma famille, il y a. We'll start with this one. Good. Mon père. Let's go to this one. Ma mère. Good. Et mon frère. Très bien. Mon frère. Et mon frère. Très bien. et mon frère, and my brother. Merci. Okay. In conclusion, you have learned la famille. So we talked about les parents and les enfants. Under les parents, we have père or papa. And then we can say mon père, which means my father. Mère or maman. And we have ma mère, which means my mother. Or you can say ma maman. Ma maman. And les enfants, we have une fille, a girl. Un garçon, a boy. Sœur or une sœur, a girl, a sister. Frère, brother. So you can see say ma sœur, my sister. Mon frère, my brother. Merci. We've come to the end of our lesson. Et au revoir.
Thank you very much for today's lesson, Mr. Kiomba. I hope that the viewer at home really enjoyed today's lesson, and I hope you're going to come back again next time.
Great.
Okay. Au revoir, grade 3s and 4s. Up next is the grade 5 and 6 lesson. So if you are in grade 5 or grade 6, please get closer to your screen because your social studies teacher will be back after this infomercial.
Jive nome kanjani and forget what bothers you the most. On this stage, our dancers fire in their eyes come alive. They explore the fires that lay deep within with different dance moves. On this stage, they claim their space and who they are with sparkles, freestyle, silent and storm dances. All this and more with our vibrant and beautiful presenter, Nikki. Jive nome kanjani season 4 coming soon on Eswatini TV. Sibuko semaswati.
At it again, once again, what it is, it's the biggest, the dopest, the freshest. The biggest, the dopest, the freshest, the sickest. It's the illest. Illest. It's the biggest, the dopest, the freshest, the sickest, the illest. Entertainment on your TV screens is TBD. Welcome to it, ladies and gentlemen. It is the Beatdown. Yo, 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 yeah, yeah.
Welcome grade 5s and 6s. This is the third subject for today and you are learning social studies with teacher Gugun Hlego. My name is Lirato Mabilisa and today's topic is climatic regions. A very good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Lirato. How are you?
I'm alright. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm fine, but it's hot.
It is very hot indeed. Okay, so today's topic is climatic regions.
Yes, my love.
What would you expect the grade 5s and 6s to have learned by the end of this lesson?
Grade 5s and 6 today, at the end of the lesson, you should be able to name or list the major climatic regions and then describe the kinds of vegetation that in the major climatic regions of Africa, that are found in the major climatic regions of Africa, and then explain how climate influences human activities, and lastly describe some human activities in each of these regions.
Okay, without wasting any time, please begin your lesson, ma'am.
Okay, grade 6 and grade 5s. This is very, very important. Keywords are important. Why are they important? They are important because they are used in the lesson. So in order for you to understand what the lesson is all about, you need to know these words. An oasis. What is an oasis? We are saying an oasis is an area in a desert where there is no water. Where there is water. You find that in a desert, as we all know that a desert doesn't have water, so an oasis is that place or is that part which has water in a desert, where plants can grow and travelers can get water. Then climate, as the topic said, the climatic regions. Climate, we are talking about the general weather condition of a region or a country which is being observed after a long period of time. It is different from weather. Weather is just the condition of an atmosphere whereby you can just go outside and check, especially for today. If you are wearing a jacket, it's a pity. It means you didn't check the weather. So human activity. What do we mean? We are talking about the various things that people do to make a living. In order for us to earn a living, we must do something, which means it is even teaching us as young people that you are not supposed to ask everything from your parents. You need to do something. So the various things that people do to make a living. So livestock, these are animals that are raised to be used for food or other products. Okay, now, as I said, we are talking about the climatic regions. Let us now look at the climatic regions. We have got the tropical rainforest region. The next one is the tropical savanna region. The third one, semi-desert. The fourth one, the temperate, sometimes it's called the mountain region. And the fifth one is the Mediterranean region. And the last one is the hot desert region. So here, as I am speaking, we are talking about the regions, the tropical region. So when you look at the map there, what we see is the map of Africa. We said these regions are found in Africa. So we have got this line, which is very important, dividing the map of Africa into two parts. It's dividing the map into the northern and southern hemisphere. So around that line, we are having the tropical rainforest. As you can see here, this is the tropical rainforest. Why is it called the tropical rainforest? They call it the tropical rainforest because every afternoon they receive rain. It rains each and every afternoon. So we are saying this region is known for its wet climate. Why does it receive or have wet climate? It is because it rains throughout the year. Thunderstorms are common in this region. So that is why then we are saying it is known for its wet climate. So where is this region found? As I have said earlier on, we said this region is from the equator to around the tropics. And what are those tropics we are talking about? We are talking about the Tropic of Cancer and the Tropic of Capricorn. I hope the learners at home are following. And now we look at the other region here. We are talking about the desert. So you can see here that this place resembles that there is no rain. The desert, from the look of things, you can tell that the place there is dry. So we have got the semi-desert here. We are saying sometimes it is called the steppes. Where is this desert found? It is found at the borders of the hot deserts. And they are not as hot as the hot desert. The same is something which is semi. We are saying it is not complete. So semi-desert, it means the semi-desert is not hot as the hot desert. And they always receive little rain of 250 to 500 millimeters. And now we have got this other region called the tropical savanna. This region is located between the desert. When you go back to the map, now you can see that this desert is found between the deserts. And we are saying this is a tropical savanna desert. So how is the tropical savanna desert? We are saying the tropical savanna desert has got a climate which changes seasonally. How are the summers? The summers are hot and the winters are cold. And you know, when a place is hot in summer, rest assured that in winter it is very cold. Compare this place like Lavumisa or Big Bend. During the summer season, it is hot, but in winter, it is cold. So here we've got the temperate. Sometimes it is called the mountain region. So it occurs on mountains or highlands, which are areas that are high above sea level. How are the temperatures there? They are mild and moderate. And the climate there changes seasonally. When it is summer, you are receiving different climate, and also in winter. As I have said earlier on, I said climate takes a very long time to be known how it is. So summer months are warm, while winter months are cold and dry. Now let us look at this other one, which is the Mediterranean. You know there is a Mediterranean Sea, but now we are talking about the region which is around that sea. We are saying this region is found in the northern and the southern tips of Africa. How are the winters? The winters are wet and mild. Then that can raise your eyebrows. In winter, it is raining. How is this region? Yes, it is raining because they are at the tip of the map of Africa, and summers are sunny and dry, which is the opposite of the other regions. We are saying here the summers are sunny and they are dry. Let us look at the last one, which is the hot desert. As I have said earlier on, that there is a semi-desert, and now we are talking about the hot desert. It is very hot and dry, and they are warm during the day and cold during the night. Now, let us look. If I was in class today, I was going to ask you, what do you see from the pictures that I have shown? Since we are looking at the different kinds of natural vegetation that are found in the different regions. As you look at these pictures here, they are speaking to us. And how are they speaking to us? We said the tropical rainforest receives rain every afternoon. That is what I said. There is too much rain in this region. So if there is too much rain, what can you conclude as a learner? You can tell that the vegetation is green. That is why we are having an evergreen dense forest. And the trees there, since it is raining each and every afternoon, we are saying the trees, they are very tall with broad leaves. It means there is no way these trees couldn't be green, and there is no way these trees couldn't be tall. Why? Because they are receiving rain now and again. The next one is the tropical grassland. The name itself is describing the type of region it is. Sometimes it is called the tropical savanna region. So when you look at the pictures, you can tell me what you can see. It's just grass, which means the vegetation of this region is just grass and sparsely having trees. The trees are not many. Why? Because this region consists of grass, mainly grass in its flat plains. And now, as we continue here, we are also looking at the vegetation now that is found in the semi-desert. When you look at the vegetation, you can tell that the vegetation there is not tall. Why? Because the rain that they receive is not enough for the plants. Thus, when plants are growing, they are stunted. So they are short trees known as scrubs, and they are bushes and thorny trees, which means the trees that are found in this region are short. The reason they are short is because they do not receive the rain. So they've given us an example of a tumbleweed and this cotton. And now we are coming to the next region, which is the mountain. As you see from the picture, really it resembles the mountain, and the trees they are scattered, and they are having, this region is having tall grass, and also they grow other plants for commercial purposes. And which are those plants? Gum trees, wattle trees, and pine trees. And when you look at this region, we can just make an example of the Middelveld here, whereby when you go to Masundvini, you can see more or less a place like this, which means it looks like a temperate region. The region is full of grass and scattered trees. And coming to the next region, it is the Mediterranean. As I have said, plants grow well during the winter. During the winter season, plants grow well during the winter season. Why now in winter? It is because this region receives rain during the winter season, and the evergreen trees and shrubs are found in this region. And now let us look at the hot desert. We are saying in this region there is an oasis. As you look from the picture here, you can see that it looks like a small dam. This is an oasis, and when you look around it, you can tell that there are trees around that place. Why trees? Because now this place, since it doesn't receive much rain, so this place, which is the oasis, do have some trees which are surrounding the place that has got water. So what type of trees or plants do we get from this desert? We find thorny trees and succulent plants like aloe and agave. And now let's go on and talk about how climate influences human activities. We know that as human beings, we cannot survive without doing something in order to earn our living. So climate is the determining factor that if the climate is good, it means a lot of people can do farming. Farming not necessarily meaning going to the field. Whether you keep livestock, you are doing farming. Whether you keep chickens, you are doing farming. That is agriculture, in fact. So climate has a great influence on human activities in this area. So agriculture and the keeping of livestock are important human activities, but all depend on climate. For instance, if an area is warm and receives more rainfall, it can support more farming activities than dry areas. Let us look at what is being done in the tropical rainforest. I said this region receives a lot of rain. So what are the people there doing? We are saying they are practicing shifting agriculture. So what is shifting agriculture? It means they always make sure, seeing that now when the ground has lost its fertility, they have to shift, they have to move and go and cut and go and look for another place where they can practice this type of farming. And they also practice logging in the tropical rainforest. As you can see from the picture, we've got some logs, which means they cut the logs and then they produce a number of things. For instance, even the furniture that you use from your schools, they take it from these logs. And then now, let us look at what is being done in the hot deserts. We are saying they keep livestock such as goats, sheep, and camels. Why are they keeping livestock? Why are they not farming? Why are they not producing a crop? It is because the area is dry, but it is suitable for livestock. That is why then they keep goats, they keep sheep and camels. And in some areas, they produce salt and they mine and produce oil. And the same applies with the semi-desert. They also practice livestock farming, which means the climate of the semi-desert and the hot desert is more or less similar. They cannot just go and plow some crops. Now let us look at the Mediterranean region. How is this region? This region, what are they doing in this region? They keep livestock. How? They also cultivate crops. And their main crop is citrus fruits. You like grapes, you like olives and dates. So now you will know that when you eat such, they are grown in the Mediterranean region. And another thing, tourism is being practiced in this region. So you can just conclude, why now tourism? The climatic regions of this region favors the tourist. They like visiting places with moderate or cool climate. And now, let us look at the temperate grassland. We are saying most of the people there, they cultivate crops and they keep livestock and they also grow commercial forest, as I said earlier on, that they grow pine, gum and wattle trees for commercial purposes. Since we know that in the tropical rainforest, they are practicing logging. So some of these logs, they produce furniture and anything that is made out of wood. So it helps the people who are living in the grassland to be good at looking and then seeing that from this we can earn a living. And then now let's look at the tropical rainforest or the tropical grasslands also. We are saying tourism is an important activity in this region as people go to the safari to see wild animals. They also keep livestock. So when we look at this lesson, there is a lot that we have learned from what the people are doing. And some of these activities, as I have just said, they are also practiced here in Swaziland, in Eswatini. There is a lot that is being done, which means we have learned that from the logs we can make furniture, we can make any sculpture that is suitable to be sold so that we can get money. And also when we look at the Mediterranean region, we are also again saying that since now we have learned that cultivating crops is not only for the farmers only. You can, as an individual, also cultivate crops, grow your own crop, like grow your own small garden and plant lettuce so that you do not buy everything in order to have something in your pocket, which means we have learned that we are gaining some skill from what the other regions are doing, and then when we practice it here in our own country, we are also gaining that we can earn a living by doing farming. Look at what is being done at Tamboti. They are growing citrus fruits, which means from Tamboti, you get some grapes or grapefruits, you get some oranges, which means you can also earn a living by selling some of those things. And now, a summary of what we have been talking about here. First of all, you have to name the regions where tourism is being practiced. Where is tourism being practiced? And we said tourism is being practiced in the Mediterranean region. And in this region, I said the tourists enjoy mild climate, which means the conditions of that region suits tourists to come and explore. And also we said tourism is also practiced in the tropical region, and they always visit a place where there are game reserves. So from the game reserves, then that particular region makes money. So list climatic regions that are good for rearing animals. We are saying the regions which are good in rearing animals are: 1, the deserts, either the hot desert or the semi-desert. Why? Because the semi-desert and the hot desert does not receive a lot of rain. So people living there cannot cultivate crops, but it is best for them to rear the animals. And if you were to live in the Sahara Desert, what activity would you practice and why? As I have just said earlier on, that Sahara Desert is found in the hot desert region. So as you know that this place doesn't receive a lot of rain, so if you were to live there, you were to rear the animals, you keep the animals. Why? Because the animals are good in living in a desert. I hope now my grade 6 and grade 5s, you have enjoyed the lesson for today.
Thank you very much, Teacher Kukunhlego. I'm hoping when you come again, you're going to give us another informative lesson as this one.
Thank you, Lerato.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Now, if you are in Form 1, Form 2 or Form 4, do not go anywhere, or rather get closer to your screen, because Nogwazi will be back after this infomercial.
Better Health, Better Life. It's another season on your favorite program, Better Health, Better Life, here on Eswatini TV.
Ayinibingelele kunemukele babukele emakhaya kulolu hlelo i-Better Health, Better Life. Lona thulula hlelo ngunokuphila masangana.
It's all about our health, our better health today, and our better life tomorrow. In the midst of this global pandemic coronavirus, Better Health, Better Life brings you closer to your health professionals.
Ifake emlonyeni wakhe. Nangabe nje ngidla into legcwele amafutha, le nto ngidla.
So siyakhuthaza ukuthi lala abahlala nalala banashukela abafunde nabo ngaloshukela.
Watch out for another fresh season of Better Health, Better Life on Eswatini TV. It's getting bigger and better every season. This season with COVID-19 is a must to watch for everyone in every home. Better Health, Better Life, your gateway to a healthy living.
At this point, you shouldn't feel as if you do not have it. You have it for sure.
Find something you like doing.
Yeah.
Say invest in yourself.
I am your host, Dianza Dlamini, and you're watching Fame Unfiltered. Good night and God bless.
Busiseka uvuseleleke wakheke emoyeni ngomculo wetenkolo bahlabeleli balapha eSwatini. Sibulethele abahlabeleli abadala nabo labasekhula emculweni wetenkolo bahlabela bukhoma lapha eSwatini. Siphinde sixoxisane kabanti ngalaba kwentako emsebentini wabo wekuhlabelela igospel konke kungidinisa simakathe. Ungaphuthelwa ngomculo wegospel khona lapha eSwatini TV. Praise to God be the glory.
Welcome back to Home Study on Eswatini TV. My name is Nogwazi Dlamini. A very good afternoon to you if you have just joined us. Right now, it's the Form 1 and the Form 2's turn, which is literature with Mondi Dlamini, who is already with me in the studio. Mondi, how are you doing this afternoon?
I'm very well. How are you, Nogwazi?
I'm doing very, very well. How's your day?
It's fine. It's just the heat.
Yeah, it's very, very hot. Today we're doing the introduction to drama.
Yes.
What are you expecting your Form 1s and 2s to have learned by the end of the lesson?
Okay. I expect my learners to know what drama is, to differentiate between prose and drama, and also to state the elements of drama.
Okay. Is there anything that they're going to need for this lesson?
So they are going to need their exercise books, their pens, and of course we are going to be using our drama script, which is from the reading matters. It is the play, it is called Fighting Back. So we are going to need our reading matters.
Okay, all right. Form 1s and Form 2s, I hope that you heard the material that you're going to need and are ready for your lesson. A reminder that we are live right now on YouTube and on Facebook. If you have any questions, please feel free to use our WhatsApp number. Mondi, you may please begin with your lesson.
Okay, well, learners, welcome back again. This is our third lesson, literature in English. So learners, remember that in our last lessons, we were introduced to literature and we looked at what literature is. And then another thing that we did was we looked at the genres of literature. So what we are going to be doing today, it is that we are going to be looking at the second genre of literature, that is drama. Remember with Miss Mota, we did prose. So the first thing that we need to look at, it is to look at the aim of the lesson. So the aim of this lesson, my dear learners, it is for you to develop the skills and the knowledge in drama. My learners, let us look at our objectives. What are these objectives? Remember, I have said the first thing that we need to look at, it is for us to define what drama is. And then we are going to describe the difference between drama and the other genres of literature. Already, my learners, you know that we have drama, we have prose, and we have poetry. Our next objective, we are going to discuss the different types of drama. And lastly, we are going to be looking at the elements of drama. That is what makes up or what constitutes our drama script. Okay, my learners, let us first look at what drama is. If you think of it, my learners, sometimes you say, oh, she's being so dramatic, or she's a drama queen. You can also say, she's got a lot of drama. What do they mean by that? What are you saying about that person? So let us first look at what drama is. We are going to say drama, it is a story that is meant to be acted out in stage, and should be in what? In a front of an audience. Not only is drama going to be acted out on stage, as we have mentioned, we can also note that it can be performed on stage, film, or the radio. Okay, my learners, let us look at the features of drama. First, we have a dialogue. What we are going to note is that in a dialogue, in drama, there is a dialogue whereby all the events are portrayed through written what? Through written dialogue. Remember, it is meant to be what? To be acted. Okay, learners, we are also going to say that in our plot, all the dramatic performances are classified according to mood, the action, and also the tone. Another thing we should note is that dramas, they are typically called plays, and their creators, they are known as playwrights. Remember, we looked at prose, and what we said it is that in prose we have what? We have somebody that we call the author or what? Or the writer. So we should note that when it comes to drama, we have the play, and the writers of the drama scripts, they are called what? They are called playwrights. My dear learners, for this lesson, we are going to be using examples from our book, Reading Matters. There is a drama script there that is called Fighting Back. Okay, my learners. Remember, we were looking in our last class, we were looking at prose. So before we begin our lesson, I want us just to quickly look at the differences between drama and what? And prose. So the first thing that we should note is that in drama, the story unfolds through what? Through the conversations of the people. Whereas in prose, the story, it is told by who? By the writer. Okay. And another thing that we are supposed to look at is that in drama, the story is what? It has dialogue. Do not worry about dialogue. We are going to get to it what dialogue is. Whereas it is in prose, we are going to see that the story, it is written in what? In sentences and in paragraphs. One last thing that we are going to look at, my dear learners, it is that drama, it has acts and scenes, whereas prose, it is divided in what? In chapters. So when we are looking at acts and scenes, we are going to see that it is another element of what? Element of drama. Okay, my learners, I hope you are still with me. Okay, as we continue, we are going to look at the types of drama. We have 3 different types of drama. We have what we call comedy, we have tragedy, and we have tragic comedy. So we are going to first start by comedy. What do we mean by comedy? What we should note is that comedy, it is a play or a drama script that is lighter in tone. What do we mean by that when we are saying it is lighter in tone? So my dear learners, you should know that when you say something it is lighter in tone, it means it is written with what? The language, it is what? It is not so serious. The language is there to make us what? To make us laugh. Which take us to the second point. That it is intended to make the audience what? It is intended to make us laugh. So as we are reading, you should know that in comedy, we are supposed to laugh. So it has something which is called a humorous atmosphere. Another thing we should note about comedy, it is that in a comedy, it has a sad beginning and it has what? A happy ending. I hope my learners, you know when they say happily ever after. So there is just happiness up until the end. Okay, my learners. As we continue, we are going to see that another thing that makes up a comedy, it is that in a comedy, it can be sarcastic in nature. What do we mean when we're talking about being sarcastic? We mean that it can mock and also do what? And annoy. Okay. And then we say it can be sarcastic in nature, poking fun at serious topics. Remember, it is supposed to make us what? Supposed to make us laugh. So as it is supposed to make us laugh, even if it is serious topics, those topics, the characters in our play, they are going to just to make fun of what? Of all these serious what? Situations. An example that we are going to see in our syllabus, we have the Pygmalion. That is what we have as a comedy. Let us look at the other type of drama. The second one, it is called tragedy. My dear learners, what we should note about tragedy, it is that tragedy, it is actually the complete opposite of what? Of comedy. And already because you know that in comedy it is using what? It is lighter in tone. The language is not serious. So when we are talking about tragedy, you should note that the language here, it is what? It is serious. Hence we are going to see that there is going to be a lot of what? A lot of tension in what? In tragedy. So we are saying tragedy, it is actually based on what? On darker themes. And another thing, it is that tragedy, it portrays serious subjects like what? Like death, like disaster, and human suffering. Okay. And remember we said in comedy has what? It has a happy ending. But when it comes to tragedy, we are going to see that tragedy has what? It has a sad ending, and usually with the death of one of the main characters. An example that we are going to get in our syllabus, it is going to be the gods are not to blame. So we are going to see that the gods are not to blame. It actually begins with a celebration, but it ends at what? It ends at a sad tone. It ends with the death of the queen and also the king, that is King Adewale, blacking out what? His own eyes. So you can actually see that it ends at a very sad what? And it is a very sad tone. And the third type of drama that we have what we call tragic comedy. So already just from tragic comedy, you can tell that it is a mixture of both what? Of tragedy and also what? And also comedy. So we are saying when it comes to tragic comedy, this is a play in which serious and comic elements, they are what? They are mixed. So we are going to see that there is a little bit of laughter. They are poking fun at the subject. It is humorous, and also there is going to be what? A sad what? Sad tone. Okay. So let us continue, my learners. Now we know the types of what? The types of drama. Let us get to what really drama is. The elements that make up what? A drama. So the first element that we are going to look at, it is what? It is plot. I am sure, my learners, you do remember when we were introducing prose what plot is. So if you do not remember, I am going to remind you, my learners. So what is plot? Plot, it is the sequence of events that constitute what? A story. And also how these characters, they react to what? They react to them. So what you should note, it is that plot involves some sort of conflict. And the conflict can be whether between the different characters. It can also be the characters and events, or the characters and themselves. So we are going to see in our story, remember we said we are going to get examples from reading matters in a play called Fighting Back. We are going to see that there is a conflict. It is a conflict between who? It is a conflict between Samuel and Justin. There is also going to be a conflict between Mother and the principal, and also Justine and Carrie. Okay. So another thing that we should note when it comes to plot, it is that we get to know of how the story through the conversations of the people were in the story. I think by now you note there is a difference between prose and what? And drama. Prose, the story, it is actually told by who? By the writer. But here, when it comes to drama, the story, it is told by what? It is through the conversations of these people. It is through the dialogues of these people that we get to know what the story is about. Let us continue, my dear learners, and look at the second element. So the second element, it is what? It is setting. So what do we mean by setting? This is the physical environment or surrounding in which an event or play takes place. What we are going to note, it is that in drama, The play has more than one setting. And my dear learners, you should note that the setting, it changes with what? With each and every scene. For instance, we are going to see that in Act 1, it is set where? In the school's playground. But when it comes to Scene 2, we are going to see that now it is where? It is in the classroom. Scene 3, it is going to be at home, at Samuel's home. So you should note, my dear learners, that setting changes with what? With each scene. Do not worry about scene. We are going to get to what really is the scene we are talking about. As we continue, we are going to look at our third element, that is characters. So what do we mean about characters? We should note that these are the people or the animals in the story. I think by now you already know that you have an idea what we are talking about. We have already mentioned some few names. I've mentioned Justin, I've mentioned Samuel, I've mentioned the mother. Maybe I can add on the principal, and also we are going to see that there is a group of friends. There's a group of girls and boys. These, they all make up what? What a character. That is the characters in what? In the story. So my dear learners, you should note that there are types of characters. We have a protagonist and an antagonist. Let us first look at what a protagonist is. Protagonist, this is the main character in the play, and who is usually what? A hero at the end of the story. So as we get to our story, remember our story, it is Fighting Back, which is found in Rhythm Matters. We are going to see that Samuel here, he is our hero. He fights a person who bullies what? His sister. And then I said there is a protagonist and an antagonist. We are going to see that an antagonist, this is the bad guy. And this bad guy, he is usually in conflict with what? With the protagonist. And we've already seen Samuel as our main hero. We are going to see that we have Justin. Justin is the bad guy. He's the one who harasses what? The school girl. So he's the bad person in the play. Let us continue with my learners with characters. We are going to see that characterization, it is developed through the words and actions of the characters. So we get through the words and actions of these characters, we get to know what kind of people these characters are. So let us just look at this dialogue that I have with me here. Sam, that is Samuel, he says, I hope you've learned your lesson now. You're a sick freak. If you ever talk to my sister like that again, I'll break your kneecaps. Understand? Justin responds and he says, it's not my fault. I thought she liked it. Just from there, from what Sam is saying, he says, if you ever talk to my sister like that again, we can tell that Sam, he is what? He is angry. And then from there, we can get his character. What kind of a person Sam is? We can see that he's what? He's a protective, caring, and loving what? Loving brother. And then, my learners, let us look at the response that Justin has. He says, it's not my fault. I thought she liked it. And just by the way that Justin is saying this thing, we can get something from him. He's a very arrogant person. How can you like something which is how can you say the person likes it if it's something that is bad that you have said? And not only are we going to say that he's an arrogant person, we can also see that he's a bully and also what? A pervert. Okay, let us continue, my learners. The fourth element, it is stage direction. This is very, very what? Very important. When we are looking at stage direction, we can say this. These are the words that tell the actors what to do and also where to go. Remember, we said drama. It is what? It is ready to be what? To be acted. So the actors, they need to know what they are supposed to do and where and also where to go. Usually what we see it is that it is usually written in what? In italics. An example that we have, remember, it is also from our play. A group of girls and boys are sitting outside eating lunch. Carrie is slightly apart from a group of girls doing some homework on her lap. Justine comes and whispers in her ear and then walks off grinning. Carrie is upset. She stands up and starts to walk away. So not only, my learners, do we get from this stage direction what to do and where to go, but we also get to see the feelings of these people. What we should note is that Justine here, he whispers something to Carrie, and we can tell that Carrie does not like what Justine has just whispered. How do we see that? The writer says she is upset. Whereas Justine, remember, we're looking at his character and we say he's just arrogant. Look at what? Carrie is upset, but look at how Justine is reacting to that. He is grinning, some sort of what? Smiling, like he's proud of what? Of himself. It's like he's proud of what he has just what? Like what he has just done. Let us continue, my learners. Another element of drama, it is what? It is dialogue. What do we mean by dialogue? Remember, when we introduced drama, we said in drama there is what? There is dialogue. Now we are going to look at what do we mean by that word, that dialogue. So what we can note, it is that dialogue, these are the lines of the text that the characters speak. And it is through these words that the characters speak that we get to know what the character is thinking or what? Or feeling. And another thing, remember we looked at the conversation between who? Between Justine and whom? And Samuel. And from there, it reveals to us what kind of people these are. They are. We looked at Justine being who? Being a bully. Whereas we looked at Samuel being what? Being our hero. He's very protective. He's loving. He's also what? He is caring. My dear learners, not only do we see dialogue, but we can also get to a monologue and a soliloquy. So when we get to that, but let us look at what a monologue is. A monologue, it is when a character delivers a speech to other characters with the intent of being heard by them. So you should note that he is delivering what? A speech with what? With the intent of what? Of being heard by them. Remember, dialogue, two or more people, they are what? They are conversing, they are talking. But when it comes to a monologue, this person is what? He's delivering what? A speech. And in that speech, he's what? He wants what? To be heard. Let me just quickly take my Form 2s to The Gods Are Not to Blame, which is the first drama that we are going to study. We are going to meet King Adewale. He's going to have this dialogue. He's going to have this monologue. He's going to be delivering a speech. And from there, we are going to see the kind of person that King Adewale is. For instance, he is going to say, they made me king. And he says, me, out of the what? A stranger in their midst. They broke tradition and made me king. And from there, we can actually tell that Adewale is what? He's being sarcastic. He's actually laughing at these people. And he says they even broke what? Broke tradition. And from there we can tell that he's laughing at these people, because how can people do that? How can they break tradition just for what? For a stranger. Then we also have a soliloquy, and we should note that a monologue, it is with the intent of being what? Being heard by the people. But when it is a soliloquy, we can tell that it is when the character makes a lengthy speech about himself and he reveals the character's secret thoughts and what? And motives. So he's just talking there, and from what he's saying, we can actually get what he is thinking and what are his motives, or maybe what he wants to do with what to the people. Okay, my dear learners, let us continue. Remember, I said drama has what? It has acts and scenes. So now we are going to see what acts and scenes are. So what we should note it is that acts, they divide the play into smaller parts, like what? Like chapters in a book. But when we get to scene, we are going to see that the scene, it divides the act each time the setting or the action changes. For instance, let us look at our example in our play. We are going to see that in the play, scene 1, it is set in the school grounds, whereas scene 2, it is during break where? in the classroom. Scene 3, it is at the principal's office. One thing you should not, my learners, it is that the setting, it is usually implied or mentioned where? In the stage directions. So that is why I said the stage directions, they are very what? They are very, very important. Let us move on to the last element of drama. That is theme. Remember, my learners, we have said that each time you're reading a story, you are supposed to get a lesson from that story. So what is this theme we are talking about? Theme, these are the moral, the message, or the lesson the author wants you to learn from what? From the story. There are a lot of themes. It could be love, it could be friendship, it could be courage, it could be hope, it could be family. Let us look at our example here. Amanda always wanted the same things May had. And from there, the writer says she always wanted the same things as what May had. We can tell that Amanda, she's what? She's jealous. So what is the theme, my learners, there? The theme is what? It is jealousy. Another example would be, no matter what happened, Jig and Jill were always there for each other, no matter what happened. So we can tell that these two, they are what? They are very best what? They are best friends. So what is the theme here? The theme here, it is what? It is friendship. Okay, my learners, let us look at how do you identify a theme in a story. You are supposed to ask yourself these questions. Number 1, what happened? The second one, how did the characters react to them? The third, how did they overcome the obstacles? And the last, how did they get what they wanted or solve what? Solve their problem. Let us just quickly go back to our play. We are going to see that what happened. Justine whispers something to who? To Carrie. Once Samuel hears what Justine did, he goes and does what? He confronts Justine. Not only does he confront Justine, but he ends up doing what? Ends up beating Justine. Not that we say violence is the answer, but Samuel at that moment, he felt like beating Justine up was going to teach him what? It was going to teach him the lesson. So in that way, he solved what? He solved the problem. My dear learners, let us look at this extract. It is from our play. We are going to see that this is a conversation between the mother and the school's principal. And what I want my learners to note, it is that you are supposed to state what you think about mother and also how you feel about the mother. So what we should just quickly, we're going to look at how mother is talking to who? To the school's principal. And he is saying, I demand an apology from the school. What kind of a system finds a child guilty without giving him the chance to explain himself? I've got a good mind to complain to the school's inspector. And just from the way that mother is talking to the principal, we can get to see that the mother she's very angry. And not only do we get the feelings of mother, but we also get what kind of a person she is. She says, I demand. Look at the word. She is demanding. And the word that we can tell that she's what? She's a little bit rude. Remember, she's talking to the what? To the school what? Principal. Okay, let us look at how he responds. He says, sit down, Mrs. Johnson. We can discuss this calmly. Look at the head teacher. He's trying to calm what? The mother. But the mother says what? I don't want to discuss this calmly. So you can actually see her being what? Being rude, being arrogant, and also being judgmental. My learners, let us look at our activity. So in our activity, we are going to use the extract that I gave you. So you are going to name the characters found what? In the play. And then also note the setting of this scene and also discuss the themes in the play. My dear learners, this marks the end of our lesson. I hope you do remember what we did and also what we did in the last class. So now you can be able to compare and also differentiate between drama and what? And prose. This is the end of the lesson.
Thank you very much, Mondi, for that lesson. It was really, really amazing. How did you find it?
It was amazing.
It was amazing.
It was.
I found it amazing. Thank you so much. We'll be seeing you soon, I hope.
Okay, thank you very much. And also thank you, my viewers at home. Stay safe, stay strong, and remember to wash your hands and also wear a mask all the time. Good day.
Thank you so much. A very good day to you too. Form 4s, please get closer to your screens, because up next is your biology lesson with Mr. Mlulegi Simelane, and today you are doing levels of organization. We will be right back after this. Welcome back to Home Study on Eswatini TV. My name is Nogwazi Dlamini. A very good afternoon to you if you have just joined us, and if you are in Form 4, because right now you are doing biology with Mr. Mlulegi Simelane, who is already with me in the studio. I understand today we're doing levels of organization, right?
Yes, Nogwazi, we're doing levels of organization today.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. A little bit hot today.
A little bit?
Okay. It's very hot today.
It's very hot today, not a little bit. It's really, really hot. All right, so we're doing levels of organization. What are you expecting your Form 4s to have learned by the end of the lesson?
So by the end of today's lesson, I expect my learner at home to be able to define development, to define tissue, to define an organ, to define an organ system, as well as identify specialized cells in both plants and animals.
All right, thank you so much for that, Mlulegi. Form 4s, I hope you are ready for your lesson. Get your notepads and your pencils ready, because this is biology. And just a reminder that we are live right now on YouTube and on Facebook. If you have any questions, please feel free to use our WhatsApp number. Mlulegi, you may please begin with your lesson.
Thank you very much, Nogwazi. So my dear learner at home, as introduced, today we are going to be discussing levels of organization. So we'll be looking at different levels of organization of an organism. So we know that we've defined that a human being or any other organism is made up of cells. We previously defined cells as the basic unit of life. So you know that cells cannot be visible to the naked eye, but can only be viewed with a microscope. So now you may wonder, why is it that an organism like you and me, which is we can be able to see with our naked eyes, is made up of cells which are not seen with our naked eyes. So we're going to look at the different levels of organization, from the cell up until we have the whole organism at the end. So I hope you'll be able to follow that. So now let us move on. Maybe before we continue with today's lesson, we can recap what we have previously discussed. In our previous biology lesson, we discussed the cell and we defined it as the basic unit of life. I hope my learner at home remembers that. We've classified cells also into two. We've classified them into plant and animal cells. We further classified animal cells and we looked at the different cell organelles or the cell parts that they possess. Animal cells consist mainly of the cell membrane, the nucleus and the cytoplasm, whereas plant cells have more cell organelles. They include the cell wall, the cell membrane, the nucleus, the chloroplast, the vacuole, as well as the cytoplasm. So you can be able to see that from these different types of generic cells, we can further classify them into specialized cells which perform specialized functions. So now they are not just general plant or animal cells, but instead we now classify them into the role that they play. So specialized cells are found in both plants as well as in animals. So basically living organisms. And we've got 1 million of specialized cells in the body, but for our syllabus we're only going to discuss only a few of these specialized cells. We're going to discuss a few specialized cells in animals and a few in plants. So in animals we will discuss what we call the ciliated cell. We'll also discuss the goblet cell, the muscle cell, as well as the red blood cell. Whereas in plants, we're going to discuss the palisade mesophyll cell, the root hair cell, as well as the xylem cell. So those are the different cells that we are going to discuss. Now let us move on. We are going to start with the animal cells, where we'll look at ciliated cells as well as goblet cells. So this is an image that shows about 3 ciliated cells as well as 1 goblet cell. So the reason I've put them together is because somehow their function is intertwined to each other. So the ciliated cells work hand in hand with the goblet cells. So we'll come back to that a little bit later. Let us look into the function. So maybe before we discuss the function of ciliated cells and goblet cells, a word of note for you, my dear learner. Whenever you are asked on an adaptive feature, could it be an organism, could it be the cells, you have to relate the structure to the function. So any adaptation consists of both a structure that helps to serve a certain function. So for example, we can ask you, why is a human being adapted for running? How are you adapted for running? So the feature there which we have to start with is that you have legs, and the legs will help you to run. Another one could be you have got muscles that help you to run. So the adaptation is linked to a feature which helps the organism or the cell to serve a function. Likewise, when we discuss specialized cells, we always link the feature to the function that it helps to serve. So now let us look at the ciliated cells here. The function of ciliated cells is to waft away mucus, which contains bacteria as well as dust, away from the lungs. So basically, wafting is a sweeping motion. So it helps to clean the respiratory tract. So these are cells that line the respiratory tract. Could it be the pharynx, the bronchus, as well as the bronchioles? So they line the respiratory tract. So we can list some organs that are found in the respiratory tract that are aligned with the ciliated cells. So those are the different organs. So another thing is that ciliated cells have got tiny hair-like structures which are known as cilia. So these are the tiny hairs that are called cilia, and these are the hairs that are helpful in wafting away. So these are the hairs, the cilia there. They help to waft away mucus, which contains bacteria and dust, away from the respiratory tract. So I hope my Elena is still following. So we also have the goblet cells. The function of the goblet cells is to secrete the mucus which traps dust and bacteria. Hence, it is also found in the lining of the stomach or the lining of the gut to protect the stomach from the acid which is released from corroding the gut lining. So the feature is that they are always found lining the places in need of this mucus. So in this case, we see that they are found in between ciliated cells, and you can be able to assume that in this case, this is most likely the respiratory tract. So that is where they are found, and they secrete mucus onto the surface, and the mucus traps the dust. It also traps bacteria, and then after that, once this is trapped, the cilia will beat in a wafting motion to remove the mucus away from the respiratory tract. Moving on, my dear learner, we also have another kind of specialized cells which are known as red blood cells. Red blood cells are a component of blood. So the function of red blood cells is to transport oxygen by the hemoglobin, which binds with the oxygen molecule. So hemoglobin is basically a red pigment. It's a red pigment which gives the blood its color. But its function is not to give blood its color. Instead, it is to carry the oxygen molecules. So we'll look at the features that red blood cells have, is that they contain the red pigment which is called hemoglobin. They also have no nucleus. They are very flexible so that they can move through very narrow blood vessels. They are very flexible. So you can see how a red blood cell looks like externally. And inside they only contain the pigment which is known as hemoglobin. They contain hemoglobin and they are void of any nucleus. So you can see that this increases the surface area for oxygen carrying or for transporting oxygen in the red blood cells. So that is how red blood cells are adapted for their function. Another specialized cell that we look at in animals are the muscle cells. Here we see 3 images of muscle cells. There are 3 different types. There are skeletal muscles, which are generally longer and help to control the skeleton, allowing for movement. There are also the smooth muscles, which are found in different muscles region of the body. There's also the cardiac muscle, which is basically the heart muscle. So those are the 3 types of muscle cells that we look into. The function of muscles is to allow for movement by contraction and relaxation. So they allow that by contraction and relaxation. So you can try a little bit of an experiment at home, and with one hand you hold your bicep and the tricep. The bicep is the top muscle and the tricep is the bottom muscle. So when you try to move, you can feel what happens with your bicep as well as your tricep. So that is how contraction and relaxation of the muscle cells allows for movement. So they allow for movement by contraction. And the feature that helps for the contraction of muscle cells are the filaments of protein, which are referred to as myofibrils, that slide over each other in order to effect movement. So the movement is effected by these filaments of protein, which are referred to as myofibril, and they slide over each other in order to effect movement. They also contain a lot of mitochondria to release energy needed for the cells to contract. So I hope in our previous lesson you recall that we discussed this cell organelle that is referred to as mitochondria. So it is responsible for releasing energy that is needed by the cells for contraction. So those are the adaptations. Number 1, they've got filaments of protein, which are referred to as myofibrils, and they slide over each other in order to effect movement. Secondly, they contain mitochondria, which releases energy needed for the cells to contract. You remember that energy is required for movement to take place. So in order for the cells to contract, they need the energy. And this energy is released by the mitochondria. So moving on, my dear learner, now to specialized cells that are found in plants. The first one that we'll look at is the root hair cell. And from the name, you can also suggest that the root hair cells is found in the roots of plants. So root hair cells basically are tubular outgrowths that allow for absorption of water and mineral ions from the soil. Tubular outgrowths that absorb water and mineral ions from the soil. So let us look at certain features of the root hair cell that help it to adapt to its function. The first one is that it contains an elongated root hair. An elongated root hair. Let us look at the root hair. You can already see it is elongated. And how does this help? It helps in that it increases the surface area for water absorption. So if this root hair cell was absent, let me try to draw. So water will only be absorbed only in this area. But now that there's the root hair cell, it increases the surface area for water absorption across all that area. So this is how it is helpful. And they also have a large permanent vacuole which contains sugars, and these sugars increase the osmotic potential of the cell. Alternatively, you can talk about that it creates a low water potential inside the cell. So the low water potential is going to be helpful in moving the water and mineral ions outside of the root hair, so from the soil inside, because you know that the water will move from a region of high water potential to a region of low water potential. So the large permanent vacuole, which contains sugars, increases the osmotic potential of the cell. And it is also positioned very close to the xylem. We're still going to discuss the xylem and what it does. So bear in mind that it is positioned closer to the xylem. Just like the muscle cells, it contains many mitochondria to provide energy for active transport. It contains many mitochondria to provide energy for active transport. And then the mitochondria will help in that sometimes we find that mineral ions are fewer in the soil and there are more inside the cell. So they have to be transported into the cell against their concentration gradient. And then the process is referred to as active transport, and it requires energy. So the energy is supplied by the mitochondria. So that is another adaptation of the rooted cell. Sometimes we can also talk about the thin cell wall. The thin cell wall allows for a short distance of diffusion. So the water and the mineral ions will only diffuse across a very short distance. So that is how it is also adapted. Moving on, we've got the palisade mesophyll cell. The palisade mesophyll cell, which is found mainly in green leaves. So the palisade mesophyll cell helps to trap sunlight in order to make food for the plant by a process known as photosynthesis. I hope from your JC science you recall what photosynthesis is. So in order for photosynthesis to take place, there should be light energy. It takes place in the presence of light energy as well as chlorophyll, which is a green pigment found in the green leaves. So the features now. What features are there for palisade mesophyll cell to trap sunlight effectively? The first one is that they are column shaped and are arranged closely together. So this is what a column shape looks like. So in palisade mesophyll cell, you will find another one very close to the palisade mesophyll cell. And this allows for light to fall directly into the palisade mesophyll cells in order for photosynthesis to take place effectively. Another adaptation of the palisade mesophyll cell is that they are just found beneath the upper epidermis. So this allows for light to travel a short distance in order to reach the palisade mesophyll cell. And the last feature is that they are pegged with many chloroplasts. So you can see from our example of a palisade mesophyll cell that there are numerous chloroplasts, and these are the cell organelles which contain the green pigment known as chlorophyll, which helps in photosynthesis, which is responsible for photosynthesis to take place efficiently. Another specialized cell that we look at in plants are what we call xylem cells. So xylem cells serve two basic functions. The first one is to transport water and mineral ions from roots to the leaves. The second one is to provide support for the stem so that the plant stands upright. So those are the two. It transports water and mineral ions from roots to leaves, and it also provides support for the stem to stand upright. So let us look at the features now. What features are there in xylem cells that help in moving water and mineral ions from roots to leaves, as well as in supporting the whole plant? So xylem cells have got they are long and they are also thin as well as tubular. They are long thin cells which are arranged end to end. So from the end of one xylem cell we have another one, such that they form a long tube that goes upwards. So that is how they are. So they are arranged end to end to form vessels. So the cells also lack end walls and cell contents. So they are dead, hollow cells. They are void of any contents inside. So them being dead and hollow and lacking any cell contents allows for water and mineral ions to move efficiently without much disturbance inside the xylem cell. So the water will move up the tube. The walls are also lignified. That means they contain lignin, which provides the strength for supporting the plant upright. They've got lignified walls, which provide strength to support the plant upright. So That is the end of the section on specialized cells. Now let us talk about development. So you can see that there are different cells that take place, that occur in the body as well as in plants. And we define development as an increase in complexity through the differentiation of cells. An increase in complexity through the differentiation of cells. So as cells increase by cell division, they end up differentiating in order to become specialized cells. Cells which serve a specific function. So when these cells are grouped together, they form a tissue. So now let us look what a tissue is. We define a tissue as a group of cells of similar structure that work together to perform a special function. So you note that the cells should be of similar structure and they should perform a special function. So the examples of tissue that we can look at, they include amongst others the phloem, the xylem, which we've just discussed, and the mast cell. So from the ones we've discussed is the xylem and the mast cell. You can be able to note that the xylem, we have said it does two functions actually. Sorry for that. It does two functions. The first function is to transport water and mineral ions from the roots to the leaves. The second function is to support the plant. Remember, we've said it contains lignin. So that is the special function that the xylem does. For the muscles now, the function we said they contract to effect movement. Remember, we said they contract to effect movement. So that is what a tissue is. Group of cells of similar structure that work together to perform a special function. So when we've got several tissues, now we move further in the level and define an organ. We have an organ now. And an organ is defined as several tissues that have been grouped together to make a structure with a special function. So we've got numerous organs in both plants and animals. Let us look at those in plants. They include amongst others leaves, roots, as well as fruits. So the special function of leaves, you may note that is where photosynthesis takes place. So that's the special function. That is where photosynthesis takes place. Another function of leaves is that they allow for gaseous exchange, the exchange of gases. It takes place in leaves. And then another organ that you can look at are the roots, and the roots serve numerous functions as well. They support the plant to anchor the plant in the soil. They also absorb water and mineral ions from the soil. So those are the examples of organs in plants. Now let us look at examples of organs in animals. They include amongst others the heart, which we know that serves to pump blood around the body. It pumps blood around the body. We also have the lungs, which is an organ for gaseous exchange. An organ for gaseous exchange. As well as the skin, and the skin serves numerous functions. Amongst others, maintaining a body temperature. It helps in maintaining the body temperature. That's one special function. Another function of the skin, it is a sense organ. You remember, it is a sense organ. It also helps to prevent pathogens from passing into the body. It helps to prevent pathogens from passing into the body. So there is an example of an organ. It is made of several tissues. One of those tissues is the muscle tissue, the cardiac muscle. So there are numerous tissues that are found in an organ. And then lastly, we have got an organ system, which is a group of organs with closely related functions. So for example, we have the digestive system. Organs that make up the digestive system could include amongst others the mouth, the esophagus, the stomach, the duodenum, the ileum, the colon, as well as the rectum. So those are some of the organs that are found in the digestive system. And their functions are closely related. So the digestive system helps us to digest food as well as absorb the products of digestion. So they are very helpful in that. So there are other organ systems that include the respiratory system, which I think you know that is made of organs including the lungs, as well as the nose, bronchioles, and other different organs. And plants have two basic organ systems, that is the shoot system as well as the root system. So from these different organ systems, we now have a fully fleshed organ. So this is another example of an organ system, and it's responsible for excretion. It helps to excrete waste products of metabolism from the body. It includes the kidneys, the bladder, the urethra, as well as some veins, the renal vein, as well as the renal artery. So they are part of the excretory system. So I've got a question for you, my dear Lena. Says figure 5.1 shows a root hair cell. Name structures A, B, and C. And question 2 says explain 2 ways in which root hair cells are adapted to carry out their functions. So the first one, name structures A. I hope you see that structure A points to the outside of the cell, and that is the cell wall. Name structure B. I hope you have identified structure B as the cytoplasm. Structure C is the vacuole, the large permanent vacuole we've talked about. The large permanent vacuole we've talked about. It's the vacuole. And then explain 2 ways in which root hair cells are adapted to carry out their functions. Remember, we have said they've got a root hair. And when you explain, you tell us the feature as well as the function, which helps to increase the surface area. It increases the surface area for absorption. So it increases surface area for absorption. Another that we can look at is the large permanent vacuole, which contains sugars. The large permanent vacuole which contains sugars, and it increases the osmotic potential of the cell. So that is what we can look at. So now let us conclude our lesson for today. We've discussed an organ, we've discussed a tissue, we've discussed an organ system, and we said a cell is made, an organism is made from the cell to the tissue to the organ, and lastly the organ system, and this makes up the whole organism. We've also looked into 7 specialized cells, 4 in plants and 3 4 in animals and 3 in plants, and we discussed their adaptive features and functions. Lastly, we looked at development, and we defined it as an increase in complexity due to the differentiation of cells. So my dear Lena Tom, I hope you enjoyed our lesson for today, and hope you'll join in next time as we discuss movement into and out of cells. For your interest, you may start reading on the 3 different methods in which substances move into and out of cells, including diffusion, osmosis, as well as active transport. Otherwise, I've come to the end of today's lesson, and I hope you'll enjoy the upcoming lesson.
Thank you so much for your lesson, Mluleki. It was really informative, and we'll be seeing you soon, I hope.
Hopefully so. No worries.
Thank you so much. You have a lovely day.
Thank you.
All right. Form 4s, please do not go anywhere, because up next we have mathematics with Mr. Lungelo Malinga, and you're doing graphing trigonometric functions. We'll be right back after this. Thank you.
catch the brightest talent search in the land on Eswatini TV on Sunday at 6 p.m. The Spotlight. Put me on.
TV license pay and win competition. Fabulous prizes up for grabs. Don't miss out on the TV license pay and win competition. The competition will run from the 30th of September to 10th November 2020. Prizes include set-top boxes, a TV set, DSTV decoders, cash and IT analysis for a winning business. To enter the competition, buy the Times of Eswatini, cut out the filled in strip and drop it off at any of the Times offices or upload cutout to https://tblcom.jelele.com. The competition is open to individuals 18 years and older and businesses too. Entrants must be in possession of devices which are capable of communication or transmitting or recording TV signals. The more the entries meet, the higher the chances of winning. Terms and conditions apply.
Sinibusele Maswati lamahle kanye nabo bonke bazalwane eveni laseSwatini. Igama lami ngingayandazwane Health Promotions Officer walohlelo lolushasha lolubitwa ngekuthi yi-Faith and Community Initiative kafishane FCI.
Njengoba sisho sobe sikhuluma ngokusebenzisana nebandla. Bafundisi nisho njalo namabandla anebantu akhiwa abantu lebafikayo lebangela lamaswati lesikhuluma ngayo. And kuyindlela kuba ngiyona leyo platform lenye lekubonakala ukuthi singayisebenzisa kwabonakala even then ukuthi singayisebenzisa ukuthi sikhone ukuthi sifike kubo bonke abantu.
Ikakhulu lubuke ukuthi bantu basitakale kwekuqala enzabeni ukuthi kwanze umsebenzi wokuvikela igciwane le-HIV la kaNgwane.
But labantu bebathi disclose bona batisho bona sibanjani baphathekile bathandazelwe labo bantu labo nabativa abangcono bebasithatha hayi ngithiva sengiphilile mina asizange ngisho kanye ndakunika nje good example sibatshela sabayekela amaphilisi.
Namhla ke ngithe ukuthi ukuthatha indvodza into ukuthatha babe ukuthi asade isimo sakhe sengadi kumcoka ukuthi usade isimo sengadi kuze utokhombisa luthando lonalo emndenini wakho utokhombisa luthando lonalo nasemphakathini.
Welcome back to Home Study on Eswatini TV. A very good afternoon if you have just joined us. And if you are in Form 4, where have you been? This is your second lesson for the day. And it's mathematics with Mr. Lungelo Malinga, who is already with me in the studio. How are you doing today?
I'm fine, Gwazi. How are you?
I'm good. How's the heat treating you?
It's very hot today.
It's very hot, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So today we're doing graphing trigonometric functions. Did I say it right?
Yes, you said it right. But today we won't get to the graphing part of it. So what we'll be doing today will be solving the trigonometric expressions and simplifying them without a calculator.
Okay, that sounds a bit difficult, but what are you expecting your Form 4s to have learned by the end of the lesson?
So I expect the learner to be able to simplify trigonometric expressions using the special English that we did on our previous lesson, the 30, 45 and 60. And lastly, to solve the trigonometric equations for angles between 0 and 360 degrees.
All right, okay, without wasting any time, I think I'll let you start with your lesson.
Thank you very much. So what we are doing today is part of the new stuff that has been added to our syllabus. So some of these concepts may not be in our textbook, so that is why we need to pay extra attention today. So on our previous lesson, we looked at the special angles, 30 degrees, 45 degrees and 60 degrees, and we discussed how these angles are formed. One is from an equilateral triangle. The other one is from a right angle triangle that is an isosceles. So we looked at briefly the angles or the trig ratios that are formed from those special angles. And here are the triangles that we were using. So the right angled isosceles, it's the one that has 45, and then we have one that has got 30 and 60, that is half of the equilateral triangle. So we discussed the different ratios that we get from here. So we summarized all these ratios in the following table. So looking at this table, we have got the sine of 30 degrees, and we said it is 1/2. We discussed this on our previous lesson as to how we get the 1/2. Sine of 45 degrees, it is 1/√2. Sine of 60 degrees, it is √3/2. So we discussed all these on our previous lesson using the triangles here. So this is the right angled isosceles, and then this is half of the equilateral triangle. So we will keep on referring to these values that we have on our table here, mainly from 30, 45, 30, 45, and 60. So the other thing that we covered on our previous lesson was looking at the unit circle and discussing it. So on the unit circle, we discovered that on the first quadrant, all the trigonometric functions are positive. And then on the second quadrant, it is only the sine function that will be positive. And then on the third quadrant, it is only the tan function that will be positive. And lastly, on the fourth quadrant, it is only the cosine function that will be positive. And we also gave you a way of memorizing this. To say, first quadrant, we say add sugar to coffee. So A, it's for all, S, it's for sine, T, it's for tan, and then lastly the C for coffee, it's for cosine. So this is just a way to memorize this, but you can use any other way to memorize this. Otherwise, we discussed how we say, or why we say sine is positive here, why we say tan is positive here, and lastly why we say cosine is positive on the fourth quadrant. So we'll keep on referring to the table. And then the other thing that we discussed on the unit circle was how we get the acute angles, but we'll get to that shortly. For now, let us look at this given example here. So the question says, given that the sine of A is equals to 12/37, find the cosine of A and the tan of A. So finding the cosine of A, let us remind each other what is needed when we are looking for the cosine function. Cos of A will be the adjacent side over the hypotenuse side. And if you look at what we are given the sine of A. So the sine of A, it is the opposite over the hypotenuse. And then the other question, the first question was the cosine of A, which is here. And then the other one was the tan of A. So the tan of A will be equals to the opposite over the adjacent. So now if we look at the two questions that we are asked, the cosine of A and the tangent of A, they both require the adjacent side. And in this case, we do not have the adjacent side. We are only given the opposite and the hypotenuse. So what we can do is we can throw this right angle triangle here. Here is our given angle A, and then here is the hypotenuse side 37, the opposite side 12 centimeters. So now the missing side, it's the adjacent side. So we can then work out the missing side using Pythagoras theorem. So this will be the hypotenuse side squared 37 squared is equals to the sum of the other two sides squared plus x squared, and then we transpose this one, minus 12 squared minus 12 squared. So this will be 37 squared, which is 1369, minus 12 squared, which is 144, is equals to x squared. And then for x, we'll introduce a square root sign on both sides. And then that is how we get the 35. That's how we get the 35. So meaning this side is 35 centimeters. So now we had said cosine requires the adjacent over the hypotenuse. So this will be the 35 over 37, which is our hypotenuse. And then tan A will be the opposite side, 12 centimeters over 35. So that is how we get the tangent of A and the cosine of A given the sine of A. So such questions, they usually do not require a calculator because the information is given. You are given 2 sides of the 3 sides. So you use the Pythagoras theorem to determine the missing side, and then you use the missing side to answer the question. So we can now move on. So this is still the unit circle. This is what we were using to memorize the sides as to which one is positive in each quadrant. And then this is what we used to work out the acute angles in each quadrant. Meaning, if you are looking for an acute angle in the second quadrant, you are going to say 180 minus alpha, alpha being the given angle. And then if you are looking for the acute angle in the third quadrant, you are going to say the given angle minus 180 degrees. And then lastly, in the fourth quadrant, we are going to say 360 degrees minus the given angle. So that is how we work out the acute angles in each quadrant. So that is how we work out the acute angle in each quadrant. So now let us look at this question. So now this is the part where we start the solving. So the first question says, find the value of theta, theta being an angle, in each of the following. Theta is an acute angle, meaning theta is between the values 0 and 90 degrees, meaning theta cannot exceed 90 degrees. Theta is in the first quadrant. So let us look at how we will find the value of theta. So we are given 2 sine 2 theta is equals to 1. The first thing we have to look at here, 1. Okay, since we are looking for the values between 0 to 90 degrees, we will look at the sign of the value once we are looking for values between 0 and 360 degrees. So for now, solving this, we'll start by transposing the 2. So we divide by this 2 on both sides. So this becomes sine 2 theta is equals to 1 over 2. And then we transpose the sign. This will then be 2 theta is equals to the inverse of sine of 1 over 2. And then looking at the special angles, the table that summarizes the special angles here, we look at the value where sine is 1 over 2. The value where sine is 1 over 2, that is sine of 30 degrees, meaning the angle here is 30 degrees. The angle here is 30 degrees. So that is why I was saying in this, when we are simplifying these expressions, we do not need to use a calculator. Although these questions will be in the paper, that is calculator structured questions, but we won't be needing calculators to answer these questions. So the inverse of sine of 1 over 2 is 30 degrees. So now this is 2 theta is equals to 30 degrees. And then finally, remember we are looking for the value of theta. So we'll divide by the coefficient of theta, which is 2. And then finally, our theta will be equals to 15 degrees. Otherwise, the angle here, it is the inverse of sine of 1 over 2. And that is 30 degrees. We have taken that from the special angles. Okay, now let us look at this one, where now the range is from 0 to 360 degrees, meaning now we are no longer working on the first quadrant only, but we will be working on all the 4 quadrants. So the question says, find all the angles between 0 and 360 with the tangent of root 3. So tan of root 3, what we'll do here, tan of root 3, tan x is equals to root 3. We'll transpose the tan, we'll be left with x is equals to the inverse of tan of root 3. And then again, we have got this in our table. So we'll keep on referring to the table that summarizes the values. So this one will be the tan of 60 degrees. So this will be x is equals to 60 degrees. It is x is equals to 60 degrees. Now, if we look at 60 degrees is in the first quadrant. Now, we'll ask ourselves the question that says, where else, in which other quadrant is tan positive? Remember, first quadrant, all of them are positive. Second quadrant, only sine is positive. Third quadrant, only tan is positive. And lastly, fourth quadrant, only cos is positive, meaning it is the third quadrant. So now we'll refer back to what we said about looking for the value in the third quadrant. We said to find the acute angle in the third quadrant, we'll say what the given angle being alpha minus 180 degrees. So in this case, we are now looking for the given angle, the alpha. So what are we going to do? We are going to transpose the 180 degrees. So we are going to say the acute angle plus the 180 degrees to get the angle. So that is why here we are now saying 180 degrees plus the acute angle 60 degrees, and that gives us 240 degrees. So that is how we get the value in the third quadrant. The value in the first quadrant was simply the inverse of tan root of root 3. Let us move on to another one. So we are still solving, and again the range, it is values from 0 degrees to 360 degrees, meaning we are focusing on all 4 quadrants. So now when we are looking at this, let us look at this one. Sine of 2x plus 10 degrees is equals to 0.5. So the value here, its sign is very important. So the value here is positive. So this means our solutions should be for where sign is positive. But if this value was negative, it means we are going to look for the values where sign is negative. So now, first quadrant, all of them. Second quadrant, only sine. Third quadrant, tan. And then fourth quadrant, it is cos. So now, since this value is positive, it means our answer should lie in the first and second quadrant only. We exclude these ones because on the third and fourth quadrant, sign is negative. So the sign of this value is very important. So now let us solve. In solving this, we'll start by transposing the sign. So this is sine of 2x plus 10 degrees is equals to 0.5 or half. So we transpose the sign. This will then be 2x plus 10 degrees is equals to the inverse of sine of 1 over 2. 0.5 is the same as 1 over 2. And on our table, we have an angle that has the sine of 1 over 2. And that angle is 30 degrees. So the angle is 30 degrees. The other important factor here, it's the angle. It's the angle. So the angle that you are looking for here, it's the inverse of sine of 1 over 2. And we are saying that is 30 degrees. So this angle is very important. For, not ignoring, but for now, we only focus on the angle. And then we then say 30 degrees is found on the first quadrant. And then we had said earlier on, sine is positive on the first quadrant and the second quadrant, meaning we now have to look for the corresponding value in the second quadrant, and that will be 180 degrees minus the 30 degrees, the angle in the first quadrant, and that will be 150 degrees. Meaning in the first quadrant, in the second quadrant, this is the angle you'll use. In the first quadrant, this is the angle you'll use. So that is why now that you have the two angles, it is important that once you find the angle in this one quadrant, you also look for the angle in the other quadrant. Then you can then continue with your solving. So now coming back to our solving here, we have worked out the inverse of sine of 0.5 and we said it's 30 degrees. Now we can then transpose the 10 degrees here, minus 10 minus 10. So 30 degrees minus 10 degrees, that will be 20 degrees. And lastly, we now have 2x is equals to the 30 degrees minus 10 degrees, which is 20 degrees. So divided by 2, divided by 2, so that our x is now left as 10 degrees. So this is the value of x, but the angle is 30. So that is why we work out the angle in the other quadrant using the 30 degrees, not the 10 degrees. The 10 degrees, it's for x. It's not the size of the angle. Okay, now on the second quadrant, our angle is now 150. So we'll then transpose the 10 degrees. So this will be 2x plus 10 degrees is equals to 150 degrees. And then transpose the 10 minus 10 minus 10. This will then be 2x is equals to 140 degrees. Divided by 2, divided by 2. And then our x in the second quadrant will be 70 degrees. So remember, of importance, it's the angle we are referring to. And in this case, it is this one. It was 30. So we look for the corresponding angle in the other quadrant. We get that it's 150. Then we continue with our solving. And then here are the others that we have to work on. So let us start with 2 sine squared theta is equals to 12 over 32. So now, first thing here is to divide by 2 on both sides. So divide by 2 on both sides, and when we divide by 2 here, it will be the same as multiplying by 1 over 2. So we'll then be left with sine squared theta is equals to 12 over 32 times 1 over 2. That is sine squared theta is equals to 0.1875. You will enter the whole calculator display. And then since this is squared, we will then introduce a square root on both sides. And then the square root of sine squared will be sine theta. So now we'll be left with sine theta is equals to the square root of 0.187. It is 0.4333. You'll enter the whole calculator display. And then now we divide by sine, we transpose sine. So we'll then be left with theta is equals to the inverse of sine of 0.433. Enter the whole value. And then you punch this on your calculator. This will then be, theta will then be equals to 25.658 degrees. And then we can round this off to 3 significant figures. That will be 25.7 degrees. So that is how we get the value. And then still we are talking about sine. And then since this value was positive, it means we'll only focus on the quadrants where sine is positive. And sine is positive on the first quadrant and the second quadrant. So 25 is on the first quadrant. Now we look for the value on the second quadrant. That will be 180 degrees minus the 25.7 degrees, and then we'll get 154.3 degrees. Okay, so let us now look at one that is different. Okay, this one is first, third, and then let us look at this one since it has first and fourth. So cos squared theta minus quarter is equals to half. First thing you look at is the value is positive. So we'll focus on the values where cos is positive. And cos will be positive. Remember, all sine, tan, cos. So cos will only be positive on the first and fourth quadrant. So we won't be focusing on these ones. So let us work this one out. So first thing is to transpose the quarter by adding it on both sides. And then we'll be left with cos squared theta is equals to 3 over 4. And then introduce a square root on both sides. We'll be left with cos theta is equals to the square root of 3 over 2. Because the square root of 4, we know that the square root of 4 is 2. So that is why we are simplifying this to 2. And the last step is to transpose the cos. We'll be left with theta is equals to the inverse of cos of root 3 over 2. And then we will then, in our table, we have got this value. So this value, it is the cos of 30 degrees where the ratio is root 3 over 2. So it's 30 degrees. So our value will be 30 degrees. And the 30 degrees, remember, it is in the first quadrant. So we now have to look for the corresponding value in the fourth quadrant. So we have to look for the corresponding value in the fourth quadrant. So that would be 360 degrees minus the angle we got here. So that will be 330 degrees. So on the fourth quadrant, it will be 340 degrees. And on the first quadrant, it will be 30 degrees. Okay, now let us look at one that has a negative value. Let us look at one that has a negative value. So here we are looking for the cos of 1 over 3x is equals to negative 0.2. So now as you can see, this is negative. So we'll have to look for the values of cos where cos is negative. So let us look at the table, the quadrants again. All of them are positive. Only sign, tan, and cos. So cos is positive on the first quadrant and fourth quadrant. And we want where cos is negative. So that will be the second and third quadrant. So our answers should lie on the second and third quadrant. Okay, so this is the cos of 1 over 3x is equals to negative 0.2. First thing we do is to transpose cos. We'll be left with 1 over 3x is equals to the inverse of cos of 0.2. And then the inverse of cos of 0.2, it is 101.5 degrees. So this is the angle. Remember I said in this case, we need to only focus on the angle first. Once we have the angle that it is 101.5, we can then, and then this is on the second quadrant. So now we have to then go look for the corresponding angle in the third quadrant, because we said we are looking for where cos is negative. And in this case, we are going to then say 180 degrees plus the angle that we got, the 101.5. And then we get 281.5. And then the last step, remember we have 1 over 3x is equals to the 101.5. So now the last step is to multiply by 3 on both sides. And then this side it cancels out. And then we'll be left with x is equals to 3101.5. And then our answer will be 304.6. So this is the answer in the second quadrant, because we are referring to this value. This is the value we are interested in. And then this is our answer, the value of x. Now, on the other quadrant, remember the range of the values is 0 to 360. So this one falls within the 360. And then in the other quadrant, we'll do the same thing. 1 over 3x is equals to 281.5. And then multiply by 3 on both sides. And then we'll have 844.5. And then this is beyond 360 degrees. So we will leave this here, but we won't include it in our answers because it is beyond. So the only answer we'll take is this one. So in summary, the only things we focus on, one, it's the sign of the value that is here. If it's positive, look for where this will be positive. The quadrants where this will be positive. If it's negative, look for where this will be negative. And then once you get the value you'll get, the angle you'll get by getting the inverse of the function and the value. Once you have the angle, then you will then look for the other angle in the corresponding quadrant. Thank you. That is all for today. And on our next lesson, that is when we'll do the graphing. Thank you very much, Kwazi.
Thank you so much, Lungelo, for your lesson. We'll be seeing you soon for more mathematics, I'm sure.
Definitely.
Thank you so much, viewers at home. Please do not go anywhere. Lerato and myself will be right back after this.
This week on Eswatini Lifestyle, we choose La Lulu on our Swazi YouTuber.
Hi guys, what's up you guys? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is again your favorite Swati YouTuber, La Lulu.
Lunga sits down with the tenderness.
This song, it's just crazy how everything is just happening all at the same time. Everything happened on that one day is actually...
Welcome back to Home Study. Unfortunately, that was the last lesson for the day. This is what your Friday looks like tomorrow. From 2 p.m. until 2:30 p.m., we have religious education for the grades 1 and 2, and the topic is taking care of each other. From 2:30 p.m. until 3 p.m. we have practical arts for the grade 3s and 4, and the topic is safety poster. From 3 p.m. until 3:30 p.m. we have religious education for the grades 5 and 6, and the topic is taking care of God's creation. From 3:30 p.m. until 4 p.m. we have English language for the Form 1s and 2, and the topic is informal letter. From 4 p.m. until 4:30 p.m. we have English language for the Form 4s, and the topic is a formal text. And the last lesson for the day is physics for the Form 4s, and the topic is work and energy.
If you're at home, we also have social media platforms, which are YouTube and Facebook, where we are live from 2 p.m. until 5 p.m. Do not forget to click that subscribe button so that whenever we are live, you get a notification. We also have a WhatsApp number which pops up from time to time on your screen.
Yes, thank you very much for tuning in. We will see you guys tomorrow 2 p.m. sharp. From myself and Lerato, aka Lera, aka Lerizi, we will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!
Bye guys!